faithfully delivering value by interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally speaking books. Today, the book we're interpreting for you is No Rules Rules, with the subtitle Netflix's Freedom and Responsibility at Work. Netflix is an American streaming service website, sometimes translated as Nye-Fae Company. In 2013, Netflix's American TV series House of Cards boosted its global fame, and it has since produced many more hits. But did you know? This American entertainment giant, dominating screens globally, actually started as a DVD rental service. In the 1990s, with its innovative monthly subscription model, it defeated Blockbuster, the then largest video rental company in the US, which went bankrupt in 2010. This meant Netflix had become the undisputed leader in the field. However, Netflix didn't rest on its laurels. It recognized the shift in global viewing habits and transformed into a media company, leading the production of various film and TV content. By 2019, Netflix had produced many classics including House of Cards, The Crown, and The Queen's Gambit, receiving global praise with over 190 million paid subscribers and a market value exceeding $200 billion. From Netflix's history, it's clear this is a company with exceptional innovation capabilities. So, how does Netflix maximize innovation to ensure successful transformations every time? One of the book's authors, Netflix founder Reed Hastings, answers no rules rules, which is indeed a very broad response. But if you understand Netflix's management principles, you'll know Hastings' words are true. For example, at Netflix, employees can decide for themselves whether to fly first class on business trips. For projects, they don't need boss approval. If they assess it's fine, the project starts. And if a boss opposes a project, it's not the employee who should reflect, but the boss themselves, and so on. These unconventional management methods are precisely why Netflix maintains innovation, and this is the book's content we're interpreting today. This book is co-authored by Netflix founder Reed Hastings and INSEAD professor Aaron Meyer, containing Hastings' thoughts and summaries on corporate development, plus many cases from Meyer's research and interviews. And then the two authors use a unique approach of combining internal and external narratives to share many case studies of Netflix's growth, summarizing a methodology to maintain the company's overall innovation capability.
Next, I'll introduce this methodology in three aspects. First, extremely high talent density.
Second, effective communication and feedback. Third, eliminating controls and establishing contextualized management mechanisms. Let's first look at the first aspect, extremely high talent density. Here, talent density refers to the proportion of excellent employees in the company. People with several years of work experience might somewhat relate to this feeling. If there are one or two underperformers in a team, it could drag down the whole team's work. Managers spend more energy helping them, while an excellent employee brings innovation effects several or even dozens of times that of an average employee. When Netflix first started producing original series, there was a project called Stranger Things. Its creation and success are thanks to top talent. Initially, this show wasn't well received. Its protagonists are kids around 11 or 12 with special abilities. Many people judged that such protagonists wouldn't be popular, too old for children and too young for adults.
But Brian, the VP in charge of original content, relied on his intuition and experience to believe Stranger Things would be a hit.
He pushed against the crowd to support the show, and then Stranger Things became a smash hit. Clearly, Brian's value is thousands of times higher than those who lack script perception. After success, Stranger Things, which had no sequel plans, immediately filmed seasons 2 and 3. And all this is thanks to an excellent talent named Rob. With superb negotiation skills, he persuaded stars with busy schedules to change plans and join this series long term. That's the kind of contribution, if quantified economically, It might be dozens of times that of other team members. This is the value of top talent. For a company, having only a few talents isn't enough. It must achieve extremely high talent density to give the whole company high-level, continuous innovation.
Based on this concept, Netflix established multiple talent mechanisms.
First, top salary. Note the word top. When facing first-rate talent they want to recruit, Netflix proactively offers the highest market price. Mike is one of the many employees recruited by Netflix. He originally worked in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and because he was outstanding, he received an offer from Netflix. However, the cost of living in Silicon Valley, where Netflix is located, is much higher than in Ann Arbor, akin to moving from a third-tier city to Shanghai's CBD. Mike wasn't sure what salary to ask for. During the interview, he nervously proposed that he wanted his salary doubled. After the interview, HR told him that not only did the company agree to double his salary, but they would also increase it by another 30% on top of that, because this is the highest salary for similar positions in the market that Netflix knows of. Netflix's HR not only strives for the highest market salaries for top talent, but also highly values fixed compensation.
What does that mean?
When many companies negotiate salaries with new employees, they offer a compensation package that includes base salary, performance-based bonuses, and stock options, etc. For example, an employee's annual compensation of $250,000 might consist of $200,000 in salary and $50,000 in performance bonuses. But Netflix's compensation has no conditions. The entire $250,000 is counted as fixed salary. This is because Netflix believes it hires elites. And Netflix's definition of elites includes that they don't need extra incentives. They will naturally pursue success and do their best at their jobs. Moreover, Hastings himself strongly opposes the routine of dangling bonuses and commissions as carrots. Speaking from his own perspective, he says, "I would absolutely never sign a contract that includes bonuses. And I won't work harder just because someone gives me a big bonus, nor will I slack off if the bonus is small." This is Hastings' self-confidence and also expresses his trust in the elite employees he hires. In addition to offering the highest salary initially, Netflix also maintains the market's highest level for each position during annual salary reviews. How do they maintain it? An employee named Juan shared his experience. When Juan worked at his previous company, he worked very hard and signed 4 major clients in 1 year. Juan expected the company to give him at least a 10 to 15% raise, but the boss told him it could only be 5%, which was a huge gap from his expectations. "Oh, that's it. Juan argued with his boss. Finally, the boss made a painful decision and offered him a 7% raise. The boss repeatedly told Juan that his expectations were unreasonable and naive. Did Juan's boss really treat him unfairly? Actually not. Juan's company, like most companies, used a bonus pool approach. That year, the average salary increase at Juan's company was 3%. The top performers could get up to 5%. Juan's boss actually gave him the highest possible raise. When Juan's boss increased it to 7% to appease him, it actually meant sacrificing other team members. The extra 2% given to Juan meant someone else wouldn't even get the 3% increase. But Netflix's approach is completely different. When Juan moved to Netflix, his salary tripled compared to his previous company. During his first year at Netflix, he worked hard, thinking his salary was already set appropriately. He expected no significant raise that year. But Juan's manager proposed a 23% raise because the market value for his position had increased, and Netflix wanted to maintain his top market status. Some might ask, how does Netflix know the highest market salary? Here again, Netflix has unconventional practices. On one hand, Netflix HR consults industry peers or recruiters. On the other hand, Netflix actually encourages employees to ask peers at other companies, or even interview elsewhere to understand their worth, then proactively negotiate their deserved compensation. This demonstrates Netflix's boldness in attracting elite talent. Employee Lonnie secured her raise this way. Her role was specialized, making market salary data hard to find. Though Netflix highly valued Lonnie's work, listing her among top employees, during annual reviews, Netflix only found 3 comparable salaries, the highest being 5% above Lonnie's. So, that year, they only gave Lonnie a 5% raise. Lonnie was very disappointed with this increase. The next year, during salary reviews, Lonnie conducted her own market research. She provided the company with salary data from 4 comparable positions. HR discovered that Lonnie's market value had indeed risen significantly the previous year, so they raised Lonnie's salary to the highest market level. As for encouraging employees to interview elsewhere, it's actually not hard to understand. When an employee's market value increases, they'll definitely get related information through colleagues, friends, or recruiters.
And the company simply can't stop employees from interviewing.
So Netflix simply built a database. Everyone can input data they obtain through calls and interviews. Once verified, it's immediately adopted. What if the company doesn't have the budget to offer the highest market price? Netflix's approach is to raise salaries even if it means firing some less outstanding employees. Only this way can they maximize the company's talent density. So, what kind of people get fired? This is the second method Netflix employs to increase talent density. Fire employees who can't keep up with the company's pace of innovation. Netflix conducts an annual employee retention test. During year-end evaluations, managers must ask themselves one question. If this person were to resign tomorrow, would I try to change their mind and fight to keep them, or secretly breathe a sigh of relief and accept their resignation? So, if it's the latter, don't wait for their resignation. Instead, let them leave immediately with a severance package well above market rate. Let them go. Netflix always emphasizes that they are a sports team in competition. Every position must be filled by the best person. Once someone can't keep up with the team's pace, even if they've been diligent, they must leave. This is Netflix's talent philosophy. It's important to note that Netflix's practice of letting go of competent employees is different from the rank and yank system used by most companies. Netflix's approach is guided by the employee's competence, assessing whether the employee is the best person for their position, while rank and yank is guided by internal competitive ranking, with the last ranked leaving. Although rank and yank also increases talent density, it easily fosters unhealthy competition within teams, leading to office politics and year-end anxiety, which is detrimental to efficient teamwork. Of course, with the constant risk of being fired, Netflix employees might feel insecure. One manager said that during his first year at Netflix, he worried every day about being fired.
To address this, Netflix suggests that when employees feel insecure, they can ask their manager, "If I were thinking of re-signing, how hard would you fight to change my mind?"
The answer to this question gives employees clear self-awareness. If the answer is truly unsatisfactory, the manager will first provide feedback to help the employee improve. Only if effective improvement isn't possible will the employee be asked to leave. This is the system Netflix established to enhance talent density. However, extremely high talent density is just the first step for rapid corporate innovation. To truly leverage talent advantages and enable rapid innovation and decision-making, timely and honest feedback between talents and between the company and talents is essential. Netflix recognized this and invested heavily in building a culture of candor. This brings me to the second part. Remember Brian, the content lead for Stranger Things mentioned earlier? He vividly remembers his first day at Netflix. At 11 a.m. that day, Brian attended a meeting led by his boss, Ted. 15 employees of various levels attended together. Brian stayed fully alert, trying to understand the new company's dynamics. During the meeting, boss Ted discussed a TV series release plan. Then, an employee 4 levels below Ted directly interrupted Ted's speech, telling Ted he'd gotten things wrong and that his approach wouldn't work. Ted should meet partners directly instead of deciding based solely on reports. This employee's remarks left Brian stunned. Publicly contradicting the big boss seemed like career suicide. Brian couldn't understand why the employee would do this. But what shocked him more was after the meeting, Ted smiled, patted the employee's shoulder, and said, "Great meeting today. Thanks for speaking up." Later in the restroom, Brian encountered Ted and couldn't help asking why he allowed such speaking. Ted told Brian that everyone in the meeting room has a responsibility to share thoughts candidly. If someone avoids feedback for fear of disapproval, they might need to leave Netflix. This is Netflix's unconventional candor principle. Help each other succeed. Don't worry about occasionally hurting feelings. Expanding on this, the principle has three aspects. First, express opinions publicly. This subordinate identified the big boss's flawed idea and addressed it directly instead of routing through managers. Secondly, give proper feedback. So-called proper feedback means its purpose is always to help solve problems, not to vent dissatisfaction. Moreover, feedback should be actionable. That is, the person receiving feedback can always make improvements based on your feedback. Just like this employee suggested Ted meet directly with partners to get more detailed and accurate information, there's a typical wrong feedback provider called talented jerks in the book. What does that mean? For example, some people, when faced with different opinions, might mock the boss as an armchair strategist or, giving blind orders. Actually, without understanding the situation, if someone speaks unclearly, they might roll their eyes or insult those they deem less talented, yet claim its honesty. These people are called talented jerks. Their comments are unhelpful to teamwork and only make the work atmosphere negative and depressing. Hastings believes that no matter how talented such people are, they shouldn't stay in the team. Thirdly, feedback should be timely, ideally given on the spot. This employee discovered the issue before the TV show promotion event and gave feedback immediately. If feedback comes after the promotion is launched, it loses its meaning. Besides giving proper feedback, good communication also requires the other party to receive feedback well. Here, Hastings' core advice is not to argue back. When hearing opposing views, people's first reaction is often to defend themselves or make excuses. But Netflix requires employees not to justify or hold grudges. Instead, like Ted facing feedback, first confirm if there's a real problem. Ted didn't make excuses or feel his pride was hurt. Of course, taking feedback seriously doesn't mean acting on every piece. Reasonable feedback can be accepted, unreasonable ones rejected, but thanking sincere providers is essential. In this case, Ted sincerely expressed gratitude. Netflix not only emphasizes candor between employees, but also strives to build a culture of candor between the company and employees. What does that mean? It means the company has no secrets from employees regarding personnel changes, which are often sensitive workplace information. For example, when bosses consider restructuring plans, they rarely inform employees who might be laid off, because it's not yet certain whether the plan will be implemented. Releasing this news prematurely causes panic. Employees immediately job hunt, morale collapses, current work suffers. Worse, if plans don't change but employees leave, it's a double loss. However, Hastings faced such situations by directly telling employees the truth. Restructuring might occur, and they had a 50% chance of being laid off within 6 months. Netflix wants employees to know the facts and decide their future. Withholding information is like holding an umbrella, shielding them from risks. Not knowing finances avoids cash flow worries. Not knowing restructuring avoids fearing past failures. This approach implies employees don't need full information because they can't handle complexity. But Netflix folds the umbrella, treating everyone as adults capable of processing complex information. Everyone must prepare to get wet. They need to properly handle financial data, navigate company changes, and confront personal challenges. Hastings believes some truths may alarm employees, like potential unemployment in 6 months, but at least they know the company is sincere with them. This sincerity and affirming make employees feel part of Netflix, strengthening responsibility during continuous exploration. Netflix formalized this candid feedback into a routine mechanism called 360-degree feedback. Each year-end, employees select people to give written feedback and suggestions. Feedback is categorized into 3 types: start, stop, continue. Specifically, start new worthwhile tasks, stop ineffective ones, and continue valuable existing work. Unlike the annual performance reviews common in other companies, Netflix's 360-degree feedback isn't tied to bonuses or promotions. It's simply a systematic opportunity for everyone to get feedback from others. And this feedback is given with real names attached. Hastings once received 360-degree feedback from an employee named Wei. Wei pointed out that when Hastings proposed relocating Singaporeans working in Korea to Japan, he was aggressive and dismissive of opposing views. Hastings agreed with the feedback, stating he'd reflect and handle similar situations more acceptably next time. The 360 feedback has no fixed quantity limit. It's based on employee willingness. Most Netflix employees give feedback to at least 10 colleagues. Some even give 30 to 40, receiving similar amounts in return. For example, Hastings once received feedback from 71 employees, all conducted face-to-face, directly. Netflix also mandates that feedback can't just be praise. Positive feedback can't exceed 25%, while improvement-focused must be at least 75%. This means accepting criticism and suggestions publicly under scrutiny. Larry Tan's VP of Content admitted feeling anxious before face-to-face 360 seconds because being critiqued publicly sounds brutal. But once it starts, his nervousness fades. He feels feedback providers, whether encouraging or critical, genuinely want him to succeed, not to undermine him. This is the second aspect of Netflix's culture: effective communication feedback. Netflix intensely fosters candid communication between employees and between company employees, requiring proper giving and receiving of feedback. Feedback should be timely, ideally on the spot. After implementing high talent density and systematic feedback, Netflix gradually eliminated controls to create efficient management mechanisms. This brings me to the third aspect: contextualized management mechanisms. The core of this system is maximizing employee freedom by minimizing control while assigning greater responsibility. Netflix first eliminated some rigid policies, like fixed vacation limits, travel, and expense approvals. At Netflix, you set your own work hours, when to come in, when to take vacation, no need to ask the boss, and definitely no overtime just to please them. Take Sarah, a senior software engineer. After weeks of crunch time, she takes a full week off to recharge. As long as scheduled work gets done, this is completely acceptable. Travel and operational expenses, spend first, get reimbursed later, zero pre-approval needed. Jennifer, a sales manager, recalls joining Netflix and planning a $1 million promo campaign. She took the proposal to her boss, asking what hoops to jump through for the funds. Her boss said, "No hoops, just sign the proposal, send it to the vendor, we're good." Finance would pay the vendor directly. But what if someone takes vacation at the worst possible time? Or pads expense reports with personal costs?
Netflix believes freedom abusers face harsh penalties. Abuse is defined solely by whether it harms the company.
Example, with no formal travel rules, can you fly business class? Netflix's view: if you're on a long flight and meeting clients right after landing, booking business class to ensure peak performance for client talks? Totally fine. It maximizes meeting impact. But if it's just for ego on a 2-hour flight, that's not putting Netflix first. Beyond ditching red tape, Netflix also scrapped business decision approvals. Meaning, once you plan a project, you launch it. No boss sign-off required.
Take Paolo, handling film promotions in Italy. He was bullish on Narco's potential there.
He spent weeks crafting a marketing plan, submitted it to his boss, and prepared to justify its necessity face-to-face. Before the presentation, Paolo was very anxious because he didn't know if his boss would approve the plan.
If the plan got rejected, his weeks of effort would be wasted. and he knew this was the most suitable solution.
But when he met his boss, the boss kept discussing recruitment without mentioning the plan at all. Paulo finally couldn't hold back and asked for feedback, only to hear, "You've already decided the plan. What help do you need from me?"
This is Netflix's decision-making model.
Once you've shared decision-related information, you're ready. No need for superior approval on feasibility. Interestingly, if a boss disagrees with a subordinate's decision, it's the boss who should reflect, not the subordinate. The boss must first consider 4 questions. Is this an excellent employee?
Do you trust their good judgment?
Do you believe they benefit the company? Are they competent for your team? If all answers are yes, don't question their judgment. In other words, work at Netflix isn't about pleasing bosses. It's about benefiting Netflix.
If answers are no, this person isn't fit for Netflix and should be fired.
As mentioned earlier, even competent employees must leave. But what if a project ultimately fails? Employee Chris Jeff shared his story. Back in 2010, when smart TVs weren't widespread, people needed gaming devices to watch Netflix on TV. Jeff felt the device's interface was too simplistic to attract users. So his team spent over a year enriching the interface. But after launch, users decreased instead of growing. The product failed. After Hastings heard Jeff's detailed report, they discussed the failure reasons together. Then Hastings asked Jeff, "What did you learn from this?" Jeff replied, "We learned complexity reduces user adoption." Hastings concluded, "Fascinating, let's all remember this lesson. This project ends here. What's your next plan?" This is Netflix's attitude toward failure. Failure isn't a big deal. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill. The key is whether employees learn from failure, because decisions aren't about personal success or failure. They're a learning process. Only through continuous learning can employees drive the business forward. In summary, Netflix's decision model is called the tree decision model. Leadership handles the roots, ensuring strategic alignment, while empowering branches to make context-based decisions. Okay, we've covered the third aspect, how Netflix phased out controls to establish this tree decision model. Netflix first eliminated vacation approvals, travel expenses, and operational funding approvals. Then it experimented with removing decision approvals. Netflix leadership focuses on directional control, while every employee handles concrete decisions, talent density, communication, feedback, and decontrol. These are the 3 pillars of Netflix's culture. They build progressively and foundational. Talent is the core, the foundation of innovation. To maximize talent's innovative power, reduce red tape, and boost communication efficiency. Simultaneously, because Netflix centers management and culture on talent, it attracts more talent, achieving higher-level innovation. All right, that wraps up No Rules Rules for you. Reading notes are below the audio. See you next time.